When my mother became pregnant with me, I guess in those days you didn't tell all the children in the family what was about to happen again. And at that time, since he was 19 years older than I, he was in college at the University of Illinois. When Christmas vacation time came, he came home for the holidays. And when he walked in the front door, he related to me in later years that he heard what seemed to him to be a cat meowing.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Oh, I know my mother doesn't have a cat in the house." And then when he walked in the room where I was, he saw there was another baby. And so we got through those early years, and I remember vividly when my brother and my two sisters would go to parties or dances. Of course, I was just there to observe the preparations. The next morning, they would be sleeping late. Particularly, it would be on Saturday mornings. And my brother was a prankster,
Mm-hmm.
and he would come and get me and say, "You want to have some fun?" And I'd say, "Yes." And he'd say, "Okay." And he'd get a glass of water and tell me that I could throw it on the sisters who were still in the bed, and which I gleefully did, knowing that he wasn't going to let them touch me. So I got away with it. Growing up like that was kind of lonely, and then it was a lot of fun because you were never in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And I also remember that since they were all in school and always had books under their arms walking around, that I would pick up any unattached books and follow them with the books in my arms around the house. So I think I grew up with a love of reading because our house was always filled with books and magazines. And that's the end of that. During the years that we lived in Detroit, the whole family.
What years was that? When was that?
I can't remember the exact years, but it had to be in the late 20s or 1930s. At that time, my father had a job as, I don't know what the official title was, but he was like the custodian of an apartment house, a large apartment house. And at this time, we lived in one of the apartments, but we were the only African Americans in the neighborhood, really. At that time, our society were was filled with respectable looking gangsters. And the group that...
The ones now aren't respectable looking? They don't look respectable anymore?
Well, you know, they don't walk around in, unless it's the head ones. I don't know any now. I don't know why they look. But you wouldn't think of a gangster walking around in a three-piece suit and a white shirt.
No.
And looking like a businessman. Anyway, there was a group that lived in our apartment house called the Purple Gang. And I remember that they would ask my mother to wash and iron their white shirts. In those days, there were no washing machines or dryers, so this type of work had to be done by hand. And I remember my mother was paid $5 gold piece for each shirt.
Mm.
And so to me, a $5 gold piece was equivalent to $1 or something like that. And I wish I had kept all of them that went through my hands. But these men were very respectable acting during the daytime hours. And then at night, I guess, is when they did their primary work. But they all were Catholic, and they would go out and do whatever they did on Saturday nights and come in quietly and go to Mass on Sunday morning to be forgiven, I guess. The school I went to, the grade school I went to, had two East Indian children, and I was there, and we were the only ones who were of color in the school. And for some strange reason, we didn't speak to each other or acknowledge each other. I guess for fear of being taken to be of the same group. We knew there was something going on racially, but we didn't understand it.
Because you were so young? Because you were so young?
Yeah. So all my friends that I played with were white, and their friends were white. And never did we mingle with each other.
Okay.
At school, I remember the principal would come into each room occasionally, and whenever she would see me, she would say, "Oh, you're a smart little girl. You're going to grow up to be Mary McLeod Bethune." And in later years, I assumed I was the only person of color that she knew who had become well known. Okay, that's the end of that.